Welcome in everyone and welcome to the Cup of Tea channel. So we've just had patch 1.1.2 released. So this is mainly going to be going over bug fixes with the miscellaneous, the player user interface and UI, as well as quests, and a little bug fix for the druid as well. So we're going to be going over this in this video. So first of all, we have the gameplay updates. So the wait time for malignant monsters to spawn after activating the malignant heart was now being reduced from 5 seconds down to 2 seconds. So that's going to speed up your farming process when you come across the malignant monsters. We then have the players are now in the trade channel by default. You can go to your tool settings or your settings in the socials to opt out if you want to. We then have some bug fixes for dungeons and events. So fix an issue where nightmare dungeons could be repeated by promoting other party members to the leader. So essentially you could repeat the same nightmare dungeon 4 times if you're in a party of 4. We then move on to the fixed issue of gathering legions. So the event would stop progressing even after defeating all the enemy monsters. I have found in dungeons and certain world events as well, when you've defeated all the mobs and that, the event timer still ticks on, but it's not spawning any more monsters. So I hope that has also applied to that one as well. We then move on to the class only bug fix. So for the druid, it's fixed an issue where boulders cast with the aspect of metamorphic stone equipped would not deal more than 100% damage. It would now be able to go over that 100% damage tick. And then we also have the fixed issue for agitated winds. Malignant power would trigger when breaking destructible objects. Here is the malignant heart itself for the agitated winds for the druid. So when 8 to 13 close enemies, you will automatically cast cyclone armor. This cannot occur more than once every 10 to 20 seconds. So when you would destroy objects in that, it would proc it, and then you'd have to wait 10 to 20 seconds to be able to re-proc it. So now it's just going to be working with monsters and that in the world or your dungeons. And then lastly, more for like a visual, where they have fixed the aspect of the owl for werewolf companion. It would be floating above the ground. It has now been all fixed and resolved. We then move on to the quest. So they have fixed an issue where Fury Against the Fate quest could not be completed. This is where it had a barricaded gate and it would not actually deplete in HP. As seen here from a Reddit post from the Heart's Filthy Lesson, they have showing a video here just showing them attacking the wall, but it's not actually depleting in HP. So now that has all been fixed. They've also fixed an issue where the Iron Skin elixirs could be obtained indefinitely by repeating, accepting, and then abandoning the Desperate Remedies quest. So you will not be able to stack that potion up and get unlimited stacks of elixirs. So that's more or less an exploit that has now been squished. Also, 2 bug fixes for Call of the Ancients quest, where one of them, if the party leader was dead when the boss was defeated, it would not work. And then additionally, if Gar was defeated before his dialogue was triggered, the quest would not be able to be completed. They fixed an issue where side quests for crafting items could direct the player to the wrong NPC, so they have been updated so you'll be able to go to the right NPC for your quests. We then move on to your user interface and user experience. So they fixed an issue where white lines appearing on your world map, that has now been fixed, as well as your season journey menu could malfunction when finishing a chapter. They've also fixed the notification for the world bosses even if you hadn't unlocked the Whispers of the Dead yet. Linking the item in the chat wouldn't display properly in the battle.net app, as well as the holding back the flood quest marker wouldn't display on the dungeon's world map. It would only display on the exits. And then finally, the tooltip for the Cage Heart of Determination had its description updated to clarify that it specifically reduced resource draining effects from enemies. And as mentioned before, this is not a big patch update. This is just mainly going to be going over bug fixes and just quality of life improvements. So lastly, we move on to the miscellaneous. So they have fixed an issue where a Boon of Tide season journey objective could not be completed as expected. They've also fixed an issue where teleporting to a dungeon entrance could be done whilst using an invincibility granting a skill, for example the Blood Mist for the Necromancer. Best way to describe it, so for example, just to use another game, in World of Warcraft, if you're a paladin you could half bubble. You will not be able to do that anymore in Diablo, so it's almost like a little nerf in some way. You won't be like able to immune teleport out or that. They've also fixed the issue with interactable objects such as corpses, as they could not be interacted with before, but now they can. Moving on with mounts, sometimes when you leave a city, you could not remount on or mount up at all. They've also fixed the issue with the calculated malignant power, where it would consume the stun effect on a non-damaging ability. And then for the classes Druids, Necromancers, and Rogues, they could not gamble for helmets at the Unsavory Oddities vendors. So the Unsavory Oddities, they can be located by the Fields of Hatred. Those are your PvP zones such as the Dry Steppes and Kyrgyzstan. And then with the vendors, they can be located in those cities or towns in that area. So those classes, as mentioned before, they could not purchase beforehand. Now that has been fixed and updated, so now you'll be able to purchase them. So this is one of the major bug fixes in my opinion, where it's to do with Wrathful Hearts. So beforehand, if you put a Wrathful Heart in an item, you could not replace it with another one. You couldn't even unsocket it at a jeweler. So now that has been updated. You can now, if you get another Wrathful Heart, you can replace it with the previous one. They've also fixed an issue with the Pentine Greaves. It didn't display properly in the final campaign boss area. So if you ever go to that area with that legendary, that should all be working as intended now. They've also fixed the issue where quest items would randomly appear in your town. So whenever you appeared with like keys or certain items of that, it would just drop out the inventory. That will no longer be an issue. They've done some various stability and performance improvements, as well as any miscellaneous fixes to the shop's cosmetics. And finally, the Caged Heart of Tal Rasha, as well as the Great Feast, now match their tooltip and are correctly calculated as multiplicative instead of additive. And to finally add on some major news in Diablo, where people have been using this gold exploit, Blizzard have now cut off the ability to trade at the moment until they resolve this issue, and anyone that has been caught using this exploit will be banned. So I don't recommend doing it. Play the game as intended, don't exploit, alright? Cool, glad we established that. So that covers everything for patch 1.1.2. I hope this video was super useful and informative. I also do stream on Twitch, so you can find me over at twitch.tv/cuppa__t, as well as my YouTube channel where I upload guide videos, go over the new patch note contents, as well as some shorts as well. We're currently going through Diablo 4 Seasonal, but as well we have started up our Baldur's Gate 3 playthrough as well, so be sure to tune on in then, and I hope to see you in the next video. Take care.